Okay, contemporary architecture. Let's talk about the trends that have taken contemporary architecture by storm. Contemporary architects produce some of today's most famous buildings. That includes single-family homes and even downtown office buildings. However, most of these buildings still reflect classic architecture features. Today, architects have taken the traditional styles and interpreted them in a modern way. It is challenging to describe contemporary architecture with conclusive features. That being said, let's attempt to describe buildings that fit this classification, okay? Contemporary architecture is widespread across the world. It is not only common in Europe and the United States. With time, contemporary design will become global. This is the opposite of what happened with modern architecture, which is more restricted to Europe and the United States. So let's try to define contemporary architecture. Contemporary architecture is the movement where modern styles blend, sharing various features among the two styles. And these styles rely on fewer traditional building ideas. The term contemporary, it may have been misplaced in time possibly. This is because it can still describe buildings that are almost 8 decades old. Because there are many styles, it is difficult to come up with a formal definition to describe this movement of contemporary architecture. Traditional architectural styles play a massive role in beautifying corporate offices, so it's not something that's just in the past. It still exists today. Traditional architecture brings functionality to the corporate environment. For this reason, most architects still pay tribute to classic design features. Sometimes they do this as a sign of loyalty to architectural design legacy, as well as to respect the design philosophy where form follows function. Contemporary architecture is different from the modern architecture of the late 20th century. This was done by adding eco-friendly features and introducing all manners of creativity. It also involves the use of state-of-the-art technology and materials. Traditional design elements are predictable and distinguishable, while contemporary architecture is more flexible. Contemporary architects thrive on sophisticated and innovative ideas. They deviate from traditions and norms. To achieve this, they need contemporary materials as well to create these new ideas. You will not only appreciate the innovative and creative designs in these buildings, you will also understand the aesthetic feeling through the unique design of the structure. Moreover, contemporary architecture uses a vast range of building materials. These may include concrete, glass, wood, and even aluminum. These materials add contrast to the design. For instance, you will sometimes notice that contemporary buildings have oversized plate glass windows. These allow plenty of natural light and create large open spaces. Also, the building frames follow symmetrically and they often have innovative shapes. In the past, many considered the use of concrete as brutal in its design application. However, modern architecture realized the value of reinforced concrete. You can do many things with concrete. You can mold it with reinforcement into almost any shape. You can also create virtually appealing buildings while being budget friendly. Once we reinforce it with materials like steel, it can be erected in ways hard to find in other buildings. You can also texturize it with recyclable materials to add sophistication to it. Aside from materials, this form of architecture has made itself distinct in other ways, like the use of curved lines and rounded spaces, which are visually appealing. It frequently uses these instead of straight lines. We are living now in an era where global warming is a real issue, right? It is now essential to take specific measures to ensure nature is not compromised. For this reason, modern architects design buildings that are energy efficient. The use of recycled materials and solar panels is almost always part of the process. Most contemporary architects ensure that the whole project is environmentally friendly while sustaining the end user's needs. Most contemporary design techniques borrow ideas from traditional styles. Without those, it would not have been accepted as far as it has. With clean lines and neatness, contemporary architecture demonstrates a free-flowing form of creativity. Most countries have now adopted this form of architecture. It portrays a lot of curvilinear styles to ease movement. Regarding design tools, architects dealing in contemporary architecture use computer-aided design software. It makes it easier to create sophisticated curves and shapes of almost all buildings. Take a look at the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain, for example. Frank Gehry did a fantastic job thanks to computer-aided design systems. Otherwise, it would have been practically impossible to design that building. Regarding roofs, let's talk about roofs for a little bit. The old form of designing roofs was also limited to pitched triangular roofs, but the new trend has invited the ideas of flat, overhanging roofs, which create more shade while protecting the building from unnecessary elements. These roofs also project architecture to the outdoors, which allow the user to enjoy exterior spaces as well. Contemporary architecture is also in harmony with nature. Classic designs positioned the windows in the center of the walls and used them to view the outdoors. In contrast, contemporary designs use large panels of glass to allow natural light in. It also allows for passive solar heating, which generates comfort and openness even during winter. Now let's talk about the exit of traditional architecture. It is important to note that even though traditional architecture is coming to pass, it has played a big part in the design environment while being replaced by contemporary architecture. Contemporary architecture relies on stark, clean lines and eco-friendly features. It embraces all types of innovations and it uses the latest technology and recyclable materials. It creates buildings that are high-tech and durable, and they are taller than most of their predecessors. In the end, my hope is that people will drive to live and work in contemporary architecture structures that respect nature. That would be the ultimate balance. That should be the goal in this world of change, in my opinion.